My name is Ben Andoh and I'm from London, UK. I really believe in overcoming trauma and becoming a success from what you think that you couldn't be a success from. I haven't relived this moment in a long time, and I know why, because I pushed it at the back of my mind. Because it's traumatizing, man. I grew up, messing around, made a lot of mistakes with my first girlfriend and, making another mistake with another girl and, kids coming out of it. Now, my children are a blessing. Obviously I didn't do it the right way. I became a cloakroom attendant for the Shard in London because I needed money to be able to look after my daughter that I had at the age of 20. I was called out of the cloakroom to dismiss a guy who was severely drunk. Obviously, being the only black guy in the cloakroom, being strong-willed, I'll say, they felt as if I was the right person to dismiss this person from entering the restaurant. Obviously, I approached him in good manner and just said, hey, look, you can't enter here because you're extremely drunk. And as he was walking through the lifts and the lift doors were closing, he shouted out, oi, you monkey. And I remember hearing those words. Everybody kept quiet that day. I remember the whole, level 32 at the Shard was quiet. And nobody stood up for me that day. And the rage that I had inside of me was like, I have to do something. I knew that no one could protect me. I knew that. And there was two things running through my mind. I come from the streets. As much as I'm a pastor, I'm from the streets. Number one was, if I make a phone call to a couple of my boys, it's game over for this guy. But then I just had this sudden feel of, do you know what? I'm bigger than that. I'm better than that. And I'm not gonna respond the way that he expects me to respond. There's a time in your life where you have to become mature and you have to think with your mind first before you think with your heart or before you think with your fists. And sometimes that's the best answer to retaliate. And I remember that day by not responding, not knowing that the gentleman that was standing right next to me happened to be the PA to the owner of the company that I was working for. And because he saw my reaction, he said, you know what, Ben? I've never seen somebody react the way that you reacted. And that was the first step to my first promotion. Within 6 years, I became the first ever guest relations manager in Mayfair. And when I say first ever guest relations, I mean the first black guest relations manager. I haven't spoken about this in a long time, man, because this thing, it hit me hard. The situation with being called a monkey, when I got home, it took me a good couple of days to really process it. When you're in a situation, you're like, did that really happen to me? Because you've seen it on TV or you've seen it happening to other people and stuff like that. You hear people talk about racism, but it hasn't directly affected you. And I remember when I got home and I was like, is this what white people really think of us? Is this what they really think about us? That's what I just said to God, poverty. Because if I had money, would I be in a position for someone to call me that? If I was in power, would I be in that position for someone to call me that? I just had to curse poverty, man. And I was so broken. And I think at one point I even blamed my mum and my dad for not working hard enough to put me in a better position. There was a lot that ran through my mind, and even thinking about it now is just bringing me so much flashbacks. And it took me a while to get over. But again, I had to now replace that fear of being called that to now push myself to become better than that. Yes, the scar is still there. I have moved from the cloakroom to have my own ministry and travel all around the world. And now my daughter can turn around and say that, you know what, my dad pushed himself. Stay in your lane. Not everybody's called to come and defend certain things. I managed to beat certain systems. To be able to achieve what I have been able to achieve now is proof that we can overcome. To be able to conquer in a white dominant society, in a white dominant company, it means that you can do it. The difference between me and somebody else is the fact that being a black man, I definitely had to work 20 times harder, but I made it. And I made the choice to leave the company to go into full-time ministry. I sometimes wish that I didn't go out to send that man out because number one, I was in the cloakroom. I wasn't in a managerial position. I wasn't a receptionist. You know, at the same time, I do thank God that I took that opportunity and I reacted the way that I did. Pick and choose the battles wisely. Don't allow somebody to tell you to do something that you know you haven't been contracted to do or you haven't been called to do. Because mentally, these kind of things, they stick in your mind. There are times where, even being promoted to Mayfair, for example, there are times where I'm wondering who is gonna walk through those doors? Who is gonna say that, Ben, you're not good enough? Ben, you're not worth it. Ben, you're a monkey. You never know. And these things, they stay with you as much as you can fight it, you can forget it. I mean, we're talking about it now, aren't we? It means that I haven't forgotten it. And that's what I would advise somebody who will work in the cloakroom. But in fact, I wouldn't even say go for the cloakroom. Go for the highest position that you can. Don't go for that. Go for the receptionist. Go for the guest relations manager. Go for the director. Don't go for the lowest positions. We've suffered enough. And now it's time for us to conquer and take what is rightly ours. Black is strong, and I can't emphasize that any much more. I mean, a lot of the times people say, oh, you're a black man. No, I mean, my skin is brown. But the definition of black to me is strong. So a brown man who is a strong man, that's what black is to me. Is absolutely awesome. The reason being is because with the decisions that I've made to be able to travel the world, I was in China some years ago. It was weird because Chinese people don't really know black people, but to be able to know that your presence carries weight is the most beautiful thing ever. There are two types of people, those who hide in a shell because they're black and those who show off their blackness. And I'm one of those because I'm created in the image of Christ. So therefore, I am made in the way that He created me and the way that He wanted me to be. Probably one of the most hardest things to ever think, because we've lived a life with a system that has always fought against us. Unfortunately, we live in a world where racism is everywhere. It's a prayer and it's a desire that it would go, but it's not gonna go now. But if maybe one day we would get there, I really believe that there'll be a lot of peace around the world. We always think about others first. I can't speak for everybody, but most black people that I've come across and I've been with, they're always thinking about their neighbor. In Africa, we're always thinking about our neighbors. In the Caribbean, we're always thinking about our neighbors. What I would implement in the system is love. And that's what the world needs. I decided to start this ministry called the Ahava Experience, which is Hebrew for love. There was a lack in the church, which was a lack of love. You know, being in the church, being ostracized because I've had a child out of wedlock, saying that, you know what, Ben, you can never amount to nothing. And that was my drive to become something. I decided that I'm gonna love the community where the church has failed to do so. And I'm gonna show the community that if black people come together with the whites, with Asians or whoever it is, we can really make a difference. I also went to the prisons to change lives. We brought them off the streets as well. That's why I do what I do now. I want to make an appeal to people, and especially the church. We need to stop thinking about ourselves and stop thinking about religion. And I'm talking about all types of religion, and think about lifestyles. And if we're able to exhibit lifestyles and help the next black person, help the next Asian even, help the next white person, we will see more kings and queens on the streets than we ever will. Next time you see a black man make a mistake, correct him in love, because that's how we can get our black men and women back into where they've been called to, which is being black and strong, which is being black and beautiful, which is being black and great. There are still some Martin Luther Kings out there. There are still some Malcolm X's out there, but we need to unravel these things by doing this in love.